Every morning, the CEO's black car pulled up in front of the office. His daughter Emily sat inside, looking out the tinted window. She never smiled. Not at reporters. Not at friends. Not even at her own birthday parties. Rumors swirled. She's cold. She's ungrateful. She's broken. But one rainy afternoon, as she waited in the car, a boy with muddy shoes and a bundle of wildflowers walked right up to her door. In less than 30 seconds, he gave her something her billionaire father's money never could. It was a rainy morning, the kind that made the city feel heavier. I was on my way to work. Coffee in one hand, umbrella in the other. That's when I heard it. Music. Soft, delicate, but broken. A violin slightly out of tune. The notes trembled like they were afraid. And then I saw her. A girl, maybe 10 years old, sitting on a wooden stool by the bakery, her hair damp from the rain. A small case in front of her with only 2 coins. But it wasn't her music that froze me. It was her eyes. They weren't looking at the violin. They weren't looking at the coins. They were staring at the ground, empty. No spark. No curiosity, like she wasn't really there. People passed by without noticing. Some even stepped around her without a glance. I slowed down. Something about her felt wrong. She didn't flinch when the wind blew. She didn't blink when the bakery door slammed. It was as if the world wasn't reaching her. Then I heard a man's voice from the bakery. "Layla, come inside." She didn't move. The man came out, wiping his hands on an apron. His eyes met mine. "You're wasting your time," he said softly. She hasn't spoken a word. In 7 years. 7 years? The number hit me harder than I expected. I glanced back at her. "Leela." Her bow moved across the strings like a ghost's hand. The man, who I guessed was the bakery owner, sighed. "She's the millionaire's daughter. Or she was." He handed me a fresh roll, almost like a peace offering. "Her parents died in the fire." I froze mid-bite. "A fire?" He nodded. "Big house up on the hill. She was found outside, clutching that violin." I looked at her again. Her fingers moved in perfect rhythm, but her eyes, still empty, still lost. No reaction to the rain soaking her coat. "Why is she here?" I asked. The man's face darkened. "Her uncle sends her down to play every day. Says it's to keep her busy. But he just sits in the cafe across the street counting coins." I turned slightly. Sure enough, a man in a suit sat there. He was watching her, but not with care. His gaze was calculating, like she was a business investment. A chill ran through me. Something about the whole thing felt off. Her silence. The daily performances. The uncle's watchful eyes. Then, a gust of wind blew a piece of paper from her case. I caught it before it hit the wet ground. It wasn't sheet music. It was a letter. Only 2 words were written on it. 2 words in shaky handwriting. "Find him." I stared at the words. The ink was smudged, but the urgency bled through the paper. Find him. Who was him? Before I could ask, a shadow fell over me. The suited man. "Her uncle?" "Give that back," he said flatly. His voice had no warmth. No curiosity. Just control. I slipped the paper into the violin case, acting like I hadn't read it. He reached for it, but Leela's bow suddenly screeched. A sharp, jarring sound that made him flinch. Her eyes were still distant, but her hand trembled as if telling me to stop him. He stepped closer to her. "You're done for today," he muttered, snapping the case shut. Then he pulled her away, his grip firm, too firm for family. I stood there in the rain, watching them disappear into the crowd. Something inside me said I couldn't just walk away. That night, I couldn't sleep. The sound of her violin kept looping in my head. Not just the melody, but a strange pattern inside it. Like a code. The next morning, I went back to the bakery. The owner raised an eyebrow. She's not here today. Guess her uncle's keeping her in? That made my stomach turn. If she wasn't here, where was she? Then I heard it. Faint. From an alley down the block. The same song. I followed the sound. And found her. Not alone. With a man I'd never seen before. Tall. Wearing a faded army jacket. And when he saw me, he froze. The man's eyes locked on mine. Sharp. Assessing. Almost like he recognized me. Lila stopped playing mid-note. Her hands lowered the violin, but she didn't look at me. She kept her eyes on him. "Who are you?" I asked. My voice came out tighter than I intended. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he glanced toward the street, as if checking for someone following. Then he stepped closer. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. "Not now. Not while he's watching." He. The uncle? I knew instantly. "What's going on?" I pressed. "Why won't she talk? And what does find him mean?" Leila's bow twitched in her hand. Her lips parted, like she might say something, but then she glanced at the mouth of the alley, her expression freezing over. The man in the army jacket reached into his coat pocket. I tensed. But he pulled out a folded photograph. He handed it to me. My breath caught. It was Lila, younger, smiling, standing with a boy about her age. On the back, written in shaky ink, "If you find him, you'll find the truth." "Who is he?" I whispered. The man's jaw tightened. "He's her brother," he said, "and he's not supposed to be alive." Before I could react, a car screeched at the end of the alley. The uncle stepped out, not rushing, but moving with that same unsettling control. Leila's hand shot out, gripping my wrist. Her touch was ice cold. She shook her head. A warning. The man in the army jacket backed away. "You didn't see me?" The man in the army jacket backed away. "You didn't see me," he muttered. "Not if you want to help her." And then he was gone, vanishing through a side door. Just as the uncle reached us, the uncle's shadow fell over us. "Out for a stroll?" he asked, his tone dripping with false casualness. Lila released my wrist instantly. She took a step back, chin lowered, eyes fixed on the ground. I forced a small smile. "Just, enjoying the music." He studied me for a beat too long, then looked at Lila. "Inside," he ordered. She obeyed without a sound. Her small frame slipped past him, disappearing through the doorway. The uncle lingered. "Some people," he said, "don't understand boundaries. They step into places they shouldn't, ask questions they don't want the answers to." I held his gaze. "I'm just here to help her." "That's the problem," he said softly. Then he turned and followed Lila inside. I stood there, heart pounding, the folded photograph still warm in my pocket. The boy's face stared up at me in my mind. Same dark eyes as Lila, same stubborn jaw. If he was alive, why had everyone said he wasn't? And why did the uncle look like a man, capable of making sure that stayed the truth? I walked back toward the main road. The violin music had stopped. In its absence, the alley seemed to echo with something else. A low, uneasy silence that clung to me all the way home. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, the photo under the lamplight. I turned it over, tracing the words on the back. "If you find him, you'll find the truth." I didn't know who the man in the army jacket was, but he knew more than he'd said. And if he was afraid of the uncle, then so should I be. Still, I couldn't let it go. I opened my laptop, typed the boy's face into a reverse image search. One match popped up. A missing persons report, dated 10 years ago. Name, Elias Marlowe. Last seen near the river, just weeks before his sister stopped speaking. The missing persons page was bare bones. A grainy school photo, the date he vanished, and a short description. No updates, no sightings, no closure. I stared at the date again. 10 years ago. That would make him 19 now. If he was alive, the thought wouldn't let go. A soft tap at my window made me flinch. I turned. Nothing, just the sway of the streetlight. Outside in the wind, I shook it off, but a knot of unease settled in my chest. The next morning, I walked to the old records office. The place smelled of dust and paper. The clerk, a thin man with silver hair, barely looked up. I'm looking for files. On a missing boy? Elias Marlowe. His eyes flicked to me, then away. That file sealed. Why? He hesitated, then leaned closer. You're not family. You can't access it. But if you're smart, you'll leave it alone. Some disappearances stay that way, for a reason. As I stepped outside, my phone buzzed. No caller ID? One text message. Stop asking about Elias, or you'll join him. The hair on my neck stood on end. I scanned the street. A black sedan was parked, 2 doors down, engine running. I didn't wait to see if it followed. I ducked into the nearest cafe, pressing my back to the wall. As the sedan slowly rolled past, through the fogged-up glass, I caught a glimpse of the driver. It wasn't the uncle. It was someone I didn't recognize, but he was wearing the same army jacket as the man who gave me the photo. I left the cafe, through the back door, keeping my head low. The streets were slick from last night's rain, and my reflection flashed in every puddle. I didn't want to go home. Not yet. So I headed for the only place I knew might have answers. The old community center. It had been abandoned for years. Windows boarded, walls tagged with graffiti. But this was where Elias's youth group used to meet. I pried the side door open and slipped inside. The air was thick with mold and dust. My flashlight beam cut through the dark, catching on tattered posters and collapsed chairs. In the far corner, beneath a stack of broken tables, something caught my eye. A battered metal locker. I tugged at the door. It was jammed, but after a few tries, the rust gave way. Inside were faded photos, a Boy Scout neckerchief, and a small notebook with Elias's name on it. My pulse spiked as I opened it. The first pages were filled with innocent things, school notes, doodles of superheroes, but halfway through, the handwriting changed. Monsieur, frantic. He says I have to go. I don't want to, but they'll hurt Mom. They watch me at night. A floorboard creaked behind me. I froze. Slowly, I turned my head. A man stood in the doorway, his face hidden in shadow, but the army jacket was unmistakable. You shouldn't be here, he said, his voice low, measured. I tightened my grip on the notebook. Who are you? What happened to Elias? He stepped forward, the dim light catching his face. It was older now, weathered, but I recognized him instantly. He was in one of the photos, from the locker, a camp counselor. My breath caught in my throat. The man's eyes were steady, but there was a strange sadness in them, the kind that comes from carrying a secret. Too long. You don't remember me, he said quietly, almost like he was testing me. I glanced again at the photo in my hand. You worked at the camp, I said. You knew Elias. He shook his head slowly. I didn't just know him. I was supposed to protect him. The air felt heavier. The old wood creaked under my weight as I took a step closer. What are you talking about? Protect him from what? The word sent A cold spike down my spine. Recruiters for what? I asked. He looked toward the boarded window, as if making sure we were still alone. For something that doesn't exist on paper. They take kids, the ones no one would ask too many questions about, and train them. I gripped the notebook tighter. Train them for what? He hesitated. Survival, obedience. Disappearance? A gust of wind rattled the door, but he didn't flinch. Elias tried to run. He came to me, begging for help, but I was already being watched. If I'd helped him, they'd have taken someone else instead. My voice broke. So you did nothing? His eyes flickered. Guilt, sharp as glass. I did one thing, he said. I hid something that might lead you to him. But once you find it, you can't unknow it, and you can't ever go back home. I swallowed hard. What is it? He stepped aside, gesturing toward the far wall, where a section of peeling wallpaper hung loose. Behind there, he said. Take it, and you'll see what they really wanted. Elias for. The wallpaper tore like brittle skin beneath my fingers. Dust swirled in the air, catching the dim light. Behind the wall wasn't just empty space. There was a small metal lockbox, its surface scarred and cold to the touch. It's not locked, the man said quietly. I hesitated, heart pounding, before lifting the lid. Inside was a stack of photographs, each one of different children, smiling. But their eyes were hollow. The last photo was Elias, except he was wearing a uniform, dark. No camp logo, no name tag, just a patch on his shoulder, a symbol I'd never seen before. Under the photos was a cassette tape in a cracked plastic case, labeled only with a date, July 19th, 2016. That's the day. He vanished, I whispered. The man nodded. They made him. Recorded himself? My hands shook as I slid the tape into the small, dusty player on the shelf. A click, a low hum. Then, if you're hearing this, I didn't make it out. They're making me say I'm fine, but I'm not fine. Don't trust. The voice cut, static hissing. When it returned, Elias's tone was different, flat. Programmed. I am safe. I'm happy. Do not look for me. The tape clicked. To a stop, my stomach turned. That wasn't just a recording, I said, my voice breaking. They changed him. The man nodded slowly. And if they find out, you've heard this, they'll change you too? A floorboard groaned, not under our feet, but above us. The man's eyes darted to the ceiling. He mouthed, We're not alone. I killed the cassette player, shoving the tape and photos back into the box. Who else is here? I whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he reached for a rusted hunting rifle. Leaning against the wall, the sound came again, a slow, deliberate creak, like someone was shifting their weight, trying not to be heard. The cabin's air felt heavier, the silence tighter. Stay behind me, he murmured. We stepped into the narrow hallway, dust motes spinning in the fading light. The smell of old wood and stale smoke was suddenly sharper, like the air was holding its breath. A shadow moved across the upstairs landing. It was quick, just enough for me to see the shape of a figure, standing perfectly still, head tilted, as if listening to us. Then a voice, calm, almost friendly. You weren't supposed to find that box? My pulse slammed in my ears. Who are you? I shouted. The figure stepped forward, just enough for the dim light to catch his face. It was Elias, but not my Elias. His skin was pale, his eyes too wide, and that same unnerving patch was stitched on his jacket sleeve. Come on, he said softly. They're waiting. The older man raised his rifle. That's not your brother, he barked. Elias, or whatever, wore his face. Didn't even flinch. Outside, a low hum began, not mechanical. Something deeper, like the earth itself, was vibrating. The cabin's windows trembled in their frames. Elias smiled. They've been looking for you too. The man pushed me toward the back door. We run now. I hesitated, my eyes locked on Elias. Where is he? I demanded. Elias tilted his head. In the same place. I found you. He stepped closer, and for a split second, I saw it. A flicker of something beneath his skin, like a second face. Pressing to the surface, the man yanked me into the cold night air. We stumbled through the trees, the hum growing louder, closer, until I realized it wasn't behind us. It was ahead. A clearing opened, moonlight spilling over. Something impossible. Rows of figures, standing perfectly still, all wearing the same stitched patch. Their eyes tracked us, every head turning, in eerie unison. And in the front row, my real brother Elias, eyes glassy, mouth whispering something I couldn't hear. The man's grip tightened. If you want him back, he said, you're going to have to. Give them something, or someone, in return? I looked at him, at the figures, and at my brother, and realized I was already too far in to leave. The hum swelled. The air went black. And then nothing.